embassy people work with the local immigration to allow them to get their entry visa stamp, but we have to prepare their documents. So, for example, Ambassador Tago could confirm that later. Just yesterday, they had to issue 160 travel documents. It's a one-page document. You probably have seen that. No, it's in diplomatic parlance, a laissez-passer, or a travel document. Just have the name, the picture, and it's valid for one-way travel to the Philippines. Even one person takes 5 to 10 minutes. So it's a long, long process. So that's for Egypt. Now, I mentioned Port Sudan. There are at least 58 still at Port Sudan waiting to cross or on the way to Port Sudan. And it increases by the day. They are brought there either by the employers or on their own, because it is possible, although it's more difficult to travel from Khartoum to Port Sudan because it's a longer bus ride. It's a longer ride. And not as secure as going to the north. However, once you're in Port Sudan, fine, you wait for the Saudi military vessels, and there's hotels there. It's a port, whereas the border is a desert town. It's a border desert town. There's nothing there, so except for the officials of the Egyptian migration. Third countries. Some have evacuated to other countries. We already mentioned 16 actually already arrived in Jeddah. But 8 were repatriated yesterday, were brought out by a small Greek military craft. And we thank the Greek government for this, that they allowed 8 Filipinos who are now in Athens. Our ambassador worked for their entry visas when they were there, Ambassador Giovanni Palek. So actions of the Philippine Embassy in the DFA. We organize, of course, the repatriation efforts by land and by sea. So that's working with the Philippine Honorary Consul there. The request for Egyptian government for the entry of Filipino repatriates is difficult. We have to keep following up and following up. And we've deployed teams at the border, and this is where we appreciate the other government agencies, including DMW, that they have in fact added members. 15 members of the DMW have arrived in Egypt. So that will be a help, because it's important for the Filipinos to see more friendly faces while they're waiting there at the border compound, no? And of course, some might suddenly lose their cool because it's very tense and all. And the new teams, Secretary Opera will explain later, will of course provide more food and water, no? So also the buses. About the buses, it's no joke to fight for rentals of buses. They would charge you exorbitant amounts. Of course, it's a war zone. We've been paying as much as $30,000 for a bus for 50 passengers. So that's a big amount. But are we going to leave them there? No, we're not going to leave them there. A problem, though, which you may have heard, was a couple of days ago, when they were already on their way, one of the buses stopped in the middle of the desert, and the driver said, "I want my pay now. I want to be paid now." I suppose that was an effort to increase the price, or what? Our honorary consul, important local businessman, wired the money, because the deal was when they get to the border, then okay, but he wanted this money now, or else he would dump the Filipinos at the border. That was quite difficult, but well, the original 8 buses, 1 plus 7 arrived, and we have 2 now, so it's difficult, but we're here. We have to. It's not just the DFA's money; it's your money, not taxpayers' money. We're protecting our workers to get out. No, we've been issuing advisories, so that is how the numbers ballooned from 250 to 750 plus. Because once we gave the advisory, contact this number, they started doing so. And we are ready to rent additional buses. We would hope that today would be the last. But for certain, there will be in the future days after this 116. There might still be a few, so we'll be there. And we are fortunate because the ceasefire has been extended. So that gives us another 72-hour opportunity to repatriate more. But from what we hear, the 200 want to remain. The 200 remain. One said, "I have to remain here. I have a friend." She didn't say if it was her partner or what, who is sick, who's in the hospital, so she doesn't want to leave. Others are married to Sudanese, so others have been there for many, many years. So, all right. But we'll still be in touch with them after the last repatriation today, because it doesn't mean that once we've done with this repatriation, we'll forget the ones remaining, because the emphasis now is on repatriation. So we've already spent, we disbursed at least 912 million for all these rental of buses and repatriation costs, because we will also be funding their airline tickets from Cairo to the Philippines. Of course, there's also temporary accommodation while in Egypt. I mentioned that there's a rapid response team from the DFA, from the DMW, OWA. OWA also, the OWA administrator left, and we'll be bringing welfare assistance as well. We've used our diplomatic connections to talk to other governments, and we've seen the positive response of Saudi Arabia. Our consuls general elsewhere, including in other countries, are working with our ASEAN colleagues to see if we could help each other repatriate some citizens. So this is an international effort. We already thank Greece. May I say Greece, in their language, Efaristo. Thank you very much. About the consulate in Jeddah, that's had some quite good success, because it's just a matter of the volume, because now we still have about 58 in Port Sudan are going there waiting for evacuation. Our team at the consulate is trying to go to Sudan as well, to the port of Sudan, via one of these military vessels. So we'll hear from Consul General Gary Auxilian about it. So what are the main challenges? I mentioned one, the securing the buses, the expenses, the fact that the internet is intermittent, but it never loses completely. It never gets lost completely. But I think now the difficulty is, what do we do about our kababayans who have to wait at least 24 to 48 hours at the border? And it is the Egyptians who have to, the Sudanese issue the exit clearance, and the Egyptians the entry clearances. So we've been following that up constantly. You can see, I've seen some pictures over there of our colleagues in the buses. You will see a picture of a wrecked car. The first night, our ambassador rushed from Cairo. I think you are aware of this, and encountered a car accident, and he should actually be in the hospital. Ambassador Tago, I hope you're all right. But he still proceeded because he speaks Arabic. He's half Egyptian himself. He's quite a veteran. You may remember the Angelo de la Cruz case in Iraq in 2003, the truck driver. He was one of the two diplomats who negotiated his release, and was former ambassador in Saudi Arabia. And we salute him. We in the DFA are proud of him. And also the vice consul, who suffered back pains, but is still there working. So what's the situation? We hope that the first group of 50 will be flying home within the next few days. We still don't have their commercial flight details. And within the next few days, certainly by the weekend, we hope the 350 can enter fully. I mean, they are in Egyptian territory, but enter with the entry permit, and we'll be housing them possibly in Aswan and then in Cairo until they finally get home on a commercial flight. So next week they should be arriving in batches. And right now, perhaps we can ask Tago the situation on the ground.
Okay, so thank you, Usec De Vega. I believe you have Ambassador Tago on the line by phone. Let's put the audio down here, so that people could hear. Ambassador Tago, hi.
Hi. Hello, good morning. Good afternoon.
Yes, how are you over there? And could we have a brief background on what's going on in your, where are you actually?
Well, thank you for this. It's a pleasure to give a little description of what's out here. I am on the Argin or Argin side, the Egyptian border. As the Undersecretary had mentioned, there are two borders between Sudan and Egypt. I'm at the bigger one, I guess. There's the other one, or Kashtar, closer to the ferry, but mine here is the dry port and land border. Yesterday, we had the first group of Filipinos, or was it the other day? I'm starting to lose the sense of time. The first group that passed through here, 51. 50 had immediately been released because their visas had been approved. One, there was a bit of delay, but his visa was approved as well yesterday. Today, late last night, at around 1:30 in the morning, or 12:30 in the morning, I had actually been informed all of a sudden that the Egyptian authorities would help us bring all the Filipinos on the other side, on the Sudan side, to the Egyptian side. And so slowly there were several batches brought until they reached the number of 340. The Red Cross gave out some supplies, hygiene care pack as well, and so on. We tried to brief them. I'm sure they were so excited. They were excited to proceed on and exit, but there is a procedure here where, although we got an exemption for visa, pre-approved visa or visa at the consulate or embassy, but here they've approved us entry upon a short check, as long as we give notification, which contains their name and passport and details and so on, and the port of entry. So totally, here on this border, we have 51 plus 340 total. And well, usually when we think of border, we think of things that are close by and there are facilities. But I think I've mentioned several times that this border, the next city is 250 kilometers, which is the famous Abu Simbel, the pharaonic statues that was cut and rebuilt because of a project of UNESCO, because it was already being flooded. So that's about 200, 100. I haven't gone there yet but it's about it's about 100, I guess, 150 kilometers away. Then there is also Aswan, about 400 kilometers up north. Our initial plan was to bring people there, but it seems I'm getting feedback lately that even hotel rooms there are getting filled. So we're really keeping all our options open. About the group that is here currently, we are now in the process. As Usec De Vega had mentioned, our first task to us by the local authority was to make sure that they had passports with them, and also if they don't, then travel documents. Actually, throughout the day, we had been giving them their blank documents, and we sought the help of some of them who volunteered to help us out and distribute it. We were able to reach agreements here with the Egyptian side, where some representatives of our nationals can come to the neutral zone, and we can talk to them in order to give them coordinate with them before they cross to the Egyptian side. My colleague was finishing the travel documents when we were informed that Egypt would help us bring all of them together in one shot rather than as they are ready, which we are very grateful for, because finally our nationals are on safe land compared to where they were a few days ago. And I must reiterate my sincere gratitude to Egypt for taking on this more and more people. I understand here there have been a few thousand foreigners who've crossed. That's besides their own nationals who've also returned. Usec also had mentioned that there's a constant coordination between ASEAN and other countries. And earlier today, I was talking to my Indonesian ambassador, who all of a sudden they learned that there are Indonesians coming to here. And also we've had several nationals who've joined other ASEAN evacuation, and we usually coordinate about it. But in general, strangely, last night it was cool, but today it's hot. It's hot, I guess, because it's already first part of May, and there aren't many facilities in this compound. I am expecting, though, someone from DMW, my past colleague in another mission, Mr. Hector Villaruel, who's on his way with, na I think nagpaluto siya ng pagkain, na hindi ko alam kung Filipino or local. But initially, upon when our Filipinos crossed, the Red Cross gave them food, and later on at around 8 in the morning, we also got them supplies of a jam croissant and some water. We hope we've been asked now by the authorities to submit the full list of the Filipinos who are here, their contacts and so on, and also if we choose for the ones with full documents, that we will submit a copy for them to compare to the list of visa approvals as they come in, so that these can be issued.
Okay.
So we are now finalizing or reviewing that list that already had existed, just to make sure that things are right, and we will be submitting that, and hopefully things will be all good, and another batch of 340 would have left the border. I think, as mentioned by Usec, there's another couple of batches. We encouraged. I think that's already final. I'm seeing my names come into my phone of those who are on each list. Hopefully that would leave this morning at 9 o'clock Sudan time. Egypt all of a sudden implemented you call it summer daylight time. So it's now actually something like 9:14 local time here. And I think Sudan is still 8:14. But so far, we're still here. My colleague, Bojer Kapati, I think after this, he will be famous for doing more than 200 travel documents in a day's worth. And we're here at the border, and the conditions may not be the best. I sought immediate representations because Filipinos told me, kanina, nung malamig, giniginaw sila. Sabi ko sa'yo, ingat kayo kasi mamaya may initan kayo. And in fact, I went, kinausap ko yung mga authorities that kung maaari, ilipat sila. Well, they pointed out that maliit lang naman talaga yung terminal dito because this was not designed for passenger terminal, as a passenger terminal, kundi dry port, and kaya maliliit din ang dry and actual terminal sa loob.
Yes. Ambassador, thank you so much for the update.
Thank you. Yes, basta they are now not in the Sudanese side of the border where you can't see them, but they're in the Egyptian side where they can see you while their papers are being processed, right?
Yes. We're hoping for...
Yes.
And we gave them supplies, and earlier we checked their documents. They're in front of us, and it's much safer here than the other side.
And DMW is still to arrive, but they'll be there with more supplies. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Tago, and we pray for all your safety and hoping for a smoother processing of the entry of Filipinos into Egypt. Now, we also have with us in Jeddah, Consul General Gary Auxilian, who will be joining us via Zoom. Do we have Consul General Auxilian? Because a few Filipinos
Yes.
crossed over via the Red Sea to Jeddah. And what is the situation there, Consul General?
Yes, good day, Ms. Daphne, and to all our colleagues there and all the listeners. I just would like to give you an update of what's happening here in Jeddah. Well, as mentioned by Usec De Vega, who, with regard to the statistics on arrivals of Filipino nationals from Port Sudan to Jeddah, so far he's correct in saying that so far we have had 16 Phil nationals that already landed or arrived in Jeddah. So the first day there were three Filipinas who are actually members or flight attendants attacked in Khartoum. Then the second batch, actually, there were also three composed of two kasambahays of two Saudis families based in Riyadh, and there was also one guy who is an employee of one food company based here in Jeddah. And then yesterday, we had around 10 Phil nationals that arrived, one by ship, a Saudi frigate, and then the 9, including one infant, arrived through a C-130 of the Saudi government. No? So far, all in all, as I have said, 16, and as mentioned by Usec De Vega, there are around 58 now in Port Sudan, but in our updated list, I think it went up to around 64 now. I don't know where the others are, if they're exactly on Port Sudan or still on their way. But this figure is based on the messages that we receive or information that we receive also from our embassy in Cairo. So during those arrivals, the three batches so far, I together with my ATN team here at the Philippine Consulate here in Jeddah, we were there to personally meet the arriving Phil nationals and extended services to them, particularly the 10 yesterday that arrived, who actually don't have with them their passport, but luckily they have with them the photocopies of their passport, which was actually honored by the Saudi authorities in Port Sudan in their coordination office here. Well, so far we have been extending really our appreciation to the government of Saudi Arabia for continuously accommodating our requests for assistance in evacuating our Phil nationals from Port Sudan, as they have assured us, no? Because there is this no less than an order from the custodian of the two holy mosques, no? His Majesty King Salman, that actually gave the order to evacuate Saudi nationals and all nationals from brotherly friendly nations, including the Philippines, of course. And they have continuously assured us of their commitment to provide that assistance to our Filipino nationals, as well as other foreign nationals that are in Port Sudan, and they will include them in their evacuation free of charge. And actually, they're also provided transportation as well as hotel accommodations upon arrival here in Jeddah for 2 days. So luckily for our three Filipinas that arrived during the first batch, they were taken care of by Saudi Airlines, and I believe they are now back in Riyadh, which is their base. And the second batch, the two Kasambahays, who are also working with two Saudi families based in Riyadh, I believe they were already with a family back in Riyadh. And the other guy, who is a food company personnel here in Jeddah, is also well taken care of by the company here. So for the 10 that arrived yesterday, they are all housed in a hotel here in Jeddah. So when they arrived yesterday, so immediately we provided assistance to them, particularly in issuing travel documents, because they only had photocopies of their documents. And then we also extended financial assistance. We also have our colleagues from MWO and OWA yesterday, as I have alerted them also that we have nationals arriving from Port Sudan. So we provided that financial assistance of $200, as well as we also provided some toiletries, no? And we'll be continuously monitoring and checking them while we also try to book their flight going back to Manila soon. Hopefully, we'll be able to get the booking so that since they're very eager to rejoin their families, and they have expressed really their thanks to the Philippine government for the assistance we have been extending to them. And actually, we also plan to send, as mentioned also by Usec De Vega, we will be deploying 3 of our consulate staff to be led by Consul Lemuel Lopez. Hopefully, they will be accommodated by our Indonesian colleagues, because I talked to the Consul General of Indonesia here, because there's a flight, an aircraft, the Indonesian aircraft that was sent here to fly to Port Sudan. I believe that's their last flight to Port Sudan this afternoon, and I really requested him, if possible, to accommodate our 3 staff in order for them to assist our Filipino kababayans who are now in Port Sudan, and also those who are still coming in from Port Khartoum or any other parts of Sudan. So I guess that's all that I can share from our side here in Jeddah. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Consul General Auxilian from Jeddah. Thank you for the updates. And I believe we have Secretary Susan Toots Ople with us on the line. Secretary Ople. Ma'am? I believe we have, she is in Abu Simbel, is that correct?
Yes.
Is it near the border in Egypt?
Yes, Akamir, that's about 200 kilometers from the border. Right, much closer than Cairo. There you go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can, ma'am.
Yes. Thank you, Daphne. I'm here at Abu Simbel. We are actually just 20 to 30 minutes away from the border. And we have set up a base, our base of operations here at Abu Simbel. And a team, just for the information of Ambassador Tago, Labor Attaché Hector Cruz, not Hector Villaruel, but Labor Attaché Hector Cruz, together with Dr. Adele Santiago and Jack Arroyo of our MWO, different MWOs, are on their way to the Egyptian border to hand over food, drinks, and to also get the profiles and the needs of the 340 workers pending clearance at the Egyptian border immigration area. We, together with the Undersecretary Hans Kakdak, we went to visit the 51 Filipinos staying at Al Amir Hotel in Aswan. We also managed to meet a nurse who was brought along from Khartoum, Sudan to, they were able to cross to the Egyptian side. She's a nurse. Her employer is an elderly woman with Alzheimer's. And we were able to also give her direct financial aid of $200 US. Also Michelle, who was with a group of students. Michelle worked for Nissan and she has been in Sudan for 14 years, and she relayed to us seeing how their company building was bombed, and thankfully none of the employees were hurt. And so she said that together with the um, 49 students, one of them is married, so there was I met the wife, the pregnant wife of one of the students. So that would account for the 51 Filipinos staying at the Al Amir Hotel in Aswan. So all of them want to come home as soon as possible. For the 340, we are making provisions. We are looking for extra rooms. There are actually 3 hotels. They're not really hotels, more as inns. Here at Abu Simbel. So we are looking at adding more rooms. At the very least, we can offer a place for them to freshen up. Mahirap, alam mo naman yung mga Pilipino, napakalaking bagay yung makaligo. Lalo na dito, minsan mainit, maalikabok. So yun ang tinitingnan namin, yung pagkain nila. Kaya kasama rin ni Labor Attaché Hector Cruz, ang isa sa mga doktor, para tingnan din, baka yung iba walang maintenance medicines, para mabilhan din natin. And alam ko may mga bata din doon. So yung actual profiles ng 340 makukuha namin. May instructions na rin ako as DMW Secretary for OWA and of course the DMW officials to charter a flight for the 340 people. So hindi na magkaipon-ipon sa Cairo for a longer time waiting for seats to be available. So we will work on that. On jobs prospects, ang sabi ng kausap namin na Conjen Auxilian, yung labor attaché natin assigned sa Manila, si Labor Attaché Motaydi, at hinihingi na nila yung profiles for job matching ng mga nais na lumipat na lang ng Jeddah at ibang bahagi ng Saudi Arabia kung may mga trabaho na magbubukas para sa kanila. So papadaanin din natin yan sa grupo ng recruitment agencies na may mga handa ng employers. So isa yan sa kailan kung bakit kailangan din namin ng profiles ng 340, malaman din namin kung sino yung nais magtrabaho pa rin sa abroad, sino ang nais umuwi na kaagad para naman masalo namin at sa tulong din ng ibang ahensya ng gobyerno tulad ng DSWD, sa case ng mga Islamic students natin, yung National Commission on Muslim Filipinos, at iba pang mga ahensya ng gobyerno na nais tumulong. So, ang makikita nyo dito yung whole of government approach sa pag-aaruga sa ating mga kababayan from Sudan. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Secretary Susan Ople, for giving us a picture of what the government is doing, and also with the Ambassador Tago and Consul General Auxilian, Cairo and in Jeddah. Are there any questions? We just have time for a few. Eden Santos. Oh.
I want to add the good secretary wasn't able to mention that this is her arrival is upon the instructions of the president because of his concern over the conditions of our kababayans there at the border. So that's why they're there to bring the supplies, food, and soap or whatever. No?
Okay. Thank you po, Usec, sa mga naibigay ng information. My question is, since Alert Level 3 po, nasa repatriation yung operations dapat, wala po bang plano ang gobyerno natin na magsagawa ng forced evacuation dun sa nananatiling around 200 na Filipinos sa Sudan, na may mga iba't ibang kadahilanan, yung pamilya nila, yung iba naman ay yung kaibigan, ay yung kailangan ng tulong. Kagaya po nung pwede naman sigurong isama for a while yung asawa nilang Sudanese dito sa Pilipinas para mas safe yung ating kababayan. Meron po bang mga ganong usapan or sinabi lang nila, we want to stay here, okay na sa ating DFA?